The answer is no. Rockets fans, if you're asking if you could get the number one pick from me as a member of the Pistons for a signed Hakeem jersey and the second overall pick, that's not happening. It's not happening. And John Wall either, no. We're not giving up the number one pick for John Wall, a signed Hakeem jersey. Amani Brooks, I know he's RDC World, Mark's cousin, but no. None of those things are going to happen. As of right now, to have the second overall pick in a draft like this, that is a good thing. That is a very good thing because you have the potential to come out of this draft with cornerstones. A cornerstone in particular. One of those would probably be Jalen Green or Evan Mobley. Potentially Jalen Suggs, who we're not really going to talk about because I don't see him going to Houston. There's a chance. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised. So Jalen Green and Evan Mobley look like the most likely candidates. So those are the ones we want to talk about. Now, before I even do that, if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, just helps out a ton. I make content like this every single day, and doing so, it's much appreciated. But as I was saying, before I even talk about what those two guys could bring, we have to actually talk about what this team is already, because some people might look at this Houston team and think, oh, well, they sucked, they don't have enough talent, it doesn't matter, just get the best player available. Maybe that's true, and you do take the best player available if you're in this position, regardless of if you're Houston or anyone. But if two guys are at a very similar level, which these two guys might be, then I would be considering what the fit is for these guys. And there are players that you have to take into consideration. One of those guys has to be Christian Wood, particularly when you're fitting him with Evan Mobley. Christian Wood is a guy that you want on your team. This is a legitimate star in the making if he's not already there. He's only just played like 80 games as a starter, if that. He averaged 20 and 10 this season despite struggling with injuries, despite playing with teammates that he probably didn't know like an hour before the game. He was introducing himself with different teammates every single game, it seemed like, and he still managed to put up 20 and 10 on the season, despite with the injuries, despite with those factors, and shot, over 50% from the field and nearly 40% from three on 5 attempts a game. His free throw shooting was a little bit cold considering his touch at the mid-range and his touch from 3, but he's someone who seems to work hard, so I can't imagine that'll stay the same. I think he's someone that'll get that sorted out. But in general, he's a genuine stretch big who can shoot the ball lights out. He rolls hard. He's a good roller, 1.2 points per possession on pick and rolls, which is good considering he was playing with a number of different guys in that pick and roll and also did it on a lot of volume. If he gets a better point guard alongside him or starts to build a better relationship with KPJ, I expect those numbers to go up because he's a lob threat, he's a pick and pop threat, he's a mid-range threat. He's a threat. It's that simple. Christian Wood is a guy who's going to give you 20 and 10 minimum for as long as he's there. He's an absolute steal at like $13 million a year. He's someone that should be at least getting paid $20 million. So to have him on your books for another 2 years at that contract is a steal. And he gives you 20 and 10. And I think he could be even more than that. This is only, like I said, like his first legitimate season as a starter. And he averaged 20 and 10, an efficient 20 and 10. What if you give him the keys? What if you give him another year with better teammates and just build around him? He could be 25 and 12. I know, that seems crazy, but it's possible. He's definitely capable of that. He's got literally every move you would want for someone who's going to be your number one option as a scorer. Whether he can be your best player, yet to be seen, but as a scorer, there aren't many better at his position. And then just talking about other guys that you might not have heard about as much. If you're not a Houston fan, or if you are, just a little reminder, Kenyon Martin Jr. is someone I like, hyper athletic, got potential as a defender, but also offensively he averaged 15 and 7 over the last 15 games of the season. In general, once he got those minutes towards the end of the season, he was good. I don't know about his shot. It's still a little bit inconsistent. I still wouldn't trust it a ton, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think he's still going to be able to shoot the ball, but in terms of what his bread and butter is going to be, it's going to be catching lobs, it's going to be attacking the rim downhill, it's going to be getting out in transition, it's going to be defending, it's going to be switchability, versatility. That's what's going to be what's going to make him a good player. That was a lot of that's in one sentence, but that's where a lot of Kenyon Martin's upside lies. Kenyon Martin Jr., should I say, because you don't want to get them mistaken. And then Jae'Sean Tate, who is the absolute ultimate role player, glue guy, whatever you want to call it, PJ Tucker, Jay Crowder, one of those guys that you could see going forward that's going to be on the court playing 40 minutes a game in playoff games. That's just the kind of guy I see Jae'Sean Tate being. He already kind of is that guy, all rookie first team. Production-wise, puts up decent amount of points, he puts up a decent amount of rebounds. He's also an underrated passer for his position and just for his skill set. You wouldn't think of him as a great passer, but he's a good passer out of pick and rolls. He's just good at making that right pass to the corner, or whether it's to a shooter or to a roller. He's capable of doing that. He's also capable of knocking down open open shots. Similar to Kenyon Martin Jr., am I trusting him to take a ton of shots and make a ton of them? No. There's a little bit of a theme there. These guys don't have the best jump shots, which is somewhat of a concern. But in terms of as just everything else, he's got everything else. Defensively, versatile, switchable, gets to the right spots, will draw fouls, will draw charges. He's a great defender already at his age in his first year at the NBA level. And then in terms of a passer, he can score, he can put the ball on the floor. Jae'Sean Tate is someone that you want on this team going forward. Are you going to change who you pick in the draft because of Jae'Sean Tate or Kenyon Martin? No, you're not changing who you pick. But these guys are worth noting because these are the guys that you want to build with. And then another guy who's probably the most known of the three that I just mentioned is Kevin Porter Jr. Him alongside Christian Wood are right now the two biggest building blocks. Obviously, KPJ has ridiculous amount of talent. Like, he said it himself. He slid Drew Holiday around the court, and he wasn't lying. He dropped 50 and 10 on the Bucks. 50 and 10. And the thing is, I wasn't even that shocked. I mean, 50 and 10 is still shocking for someone in his second year, but if there was someone who could have done it and I'd be like, okay, it was Kevin Porter Jr. because he's just that talented. Now, he's not going to be giving you 50 and 10 every single game, and he's not necessarily the second coming of Harden because he dropped 50 and 10, but he is damn good. And if he gets it all sorted, if he sorts out his jump shot consistently, his three-point shot, if he gets to the rim more, gets downhill, pick and roll with Christian Wood, relaxes on the turnovers a bit, there's a really good player there. There's already a solid player, but there could be a really good player with the skill set he has. It's whether you want him as your point guard of the future or you'd rather him as a combo guard in a backcourt with maybe a Jalen Suggs, which is interesting because Jalen Suggs would provide a little bit more playmaking and those two could kind of feed off each other. And we may as well talk about a guy that we're going to mention, Jalen Green. He's someone that isn't as good a playmaker as Jalen Suggs, but he's a better scorer. He's someone that has as much upside as anyone in this draft, probably just in general, but particularly as a scorer. He's going to be a 20-point per game scorer. Maybe not from day one, but in terms of after he gets adjusted, he's going to be that guy. I mean, he averaged 17 points a game on pretty good efficiency in the G League, which is a pretty competitive league. He made that look pretty easy at times. He's going to be a scorer. There's no doubts about that. He's got elite athleticism. There's this guy I watch on YouTube who's like a strength and conditioning coach, a legitimately good one at that, and he compared Michael Jordan and Jalen Green's athleticism, a young Michael Jordan. So that's the kind of athlete you're working with. He's legitimately an athletic freak. He's also got touch around the rim. He glides through the air, as you would imagine for someone compared to Michael Jordan as an athlete. He shoots the three ball well. Jarrett Jack said he was a hard worker as well. Everything suggests he's going to be good. Everything suggests he's going to be good. The fit is the only question. Do you want Kevin Porter Jr. to be your lead ball handler all of a sudden? Christian Wood isn't the best passer. He's not known for his passing. Kenyon Martin Jr., if he's starting at the three, not known for his passing. Also, none of these guys are known particularly for their shooting. Jalen Green can shoot the ball. Christian Wood can shoot the ball. I mean, those guys can shoot the ball as well. KPJ and Tate and those guys. But they're not exactly shooters. I mean, that's not the starting five, obviously, for sure. But those are the guys that are going to make up a lot of the rotation and a lot of the minutes going forward. And you don't have a really known knockdown shooter in there, which is interesting, but that's kind of up for the front office rather than in terms of this draft. That's up for the front office to make that decision. But Jalen Green, the fit in terms of a playmaking aspect, do you trust there to be enough playmaking coming from KPJ, Jae'Sean Tate, Jalen Green as probably the best three passers on the team? Is that enough playmaking? That's the question that you have to ask, because Evan Mobley on the flip side, although he's a big, you're going to get a lot of playmaking out of him. That's what he's known for. He's someone that can playmake at his size. He's a prototypical guy, the new modern day big. And alongside Christian Wood, people have raised question marks over whether they'll be big enough together in terms of size, broadness, going up against the likes of Embiid and Jokic. That's a valid concern. But I also think these two do have the potential to be like a revolutionary front court. I know that sounds crazy, but guys that can shoot the ball, guys that can playmake for themselves, create their own shot, that can defend different positions, particularly Mobley. Wood isn't a slouch on the perimeter. He doesn't look like a guy in stilts, but he's not exactly some kind of lockdown perimeter defender. But these guys do have the potential. You could look at that team and be like, Evan Mobley and Christian Wood, we have no answer for it. Because if it does work out, there is no answer for two guys 7 foot that can guard a couple of positions. Mobley, again, in particular, Mobley can pass. They can both shoot the ball. Hypothetically, with Mobley, a lot of these things aren't set in stone, but that's why it's potential. That's why these two could potentially be an unbelievable front court, but I'm not sure. I don't know if they're going to be like one of the most dangerous front courts we could see, or they could fail. It's a tough one, and that's up for the Rockets to decide. In terms of if you're looking at a more safe bet, I think Jalen Green as a fit is a more safe bet because you know what you're getting. Christian Wood, you know what you're getting, and you're getting Jalen Green, who's going to be a scorer. He's going to fit in. He's someone who's just a scorer. Scorers fit into their environment. Evan Mobley probably needs a little bit more of the offense catered to him for him to be at his best in terms of as a playmaker. And then also defensively, Christian Wood and Mobley, there are valid concerns for a reason. I don't hate the idea by any means, but Jalen Green would be my pick out of the two. I just think I trust Jalen Green to fit into what Houston have right now. And also, for someone who doesn't watch a ton of college basketball or G League, I have this unwavering confidence in him being a star. Don't take that as a certainty, but I just have this unwavering confidence in, for some reason, he is going to be legitimately really good. I don't know why. I guess it's the fact that he is already pretty damn good, but going forward, I could see him being the guy that is the franchise player for this team alongside Christian Wood and KPJ and those guys that I mentioned as well. This is a team that some people might look at it and think, oh, they're not that talented. But I think you add Jalen Green or Evan Mobley, either of those two, or Jalen Suggs, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does, but, you know, it's talent either way. You add that to the mix, and all of a sudden, you've got a really nice young team. And I say that with all the teams, but genuinely, you can't look at this Houston team and say, oh, Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Kenyon Martin Jr., and Jae'Sean Tate isn't a nice starting young five. They might need to add some shooting to that mix and some playmaking, but in terms of just talent-wise, that's a nice young five. And then you've got the picks coming from the Harden trade and also probably another high-end pick next year. Houston is definitely going to be back in the mix in a couple of years, and this pick will make a big difference, so don't mess it up, Houston. But I've got faith in their front office making the right decision. That's just my thoughts on the whole situation.